You are about to embark on the most monumental journey of all archaeological discoveries in this new live series by The God Culture. A 3,000-year gold rush documented so many ways it will make your head spin. The mother lode that would cause the likes of Indiana Jones to salivate. The true land of gold in all of history, which leads to the location of the Garden of Eden and the land of creation. Identifying the rivers from Eden en route. Why is this important? You will never understand geography, history, nor especially Bible prophecy without this restored knowledge of what many will consider the most illustrious realm on earth. Today, we call this the Philippines. Though founded in the Bible, which is the origin of this saga of renown, examine the history, archaeology, geography, science, linguistics, etc., which all converge to reveal what the world knew and somehow misplaced about a century ago. This is a mystery no longer, and now you will know the whereabouts of the lost Isles of Gold. Mabuhay, Philippines! Welcome to our studio live taping here in Davao, Philippines. This is an incredible series, and you know, Solomon's Gold series has always been so awesome, but that was 8 years ago, and it was time for an update, and this has just been so enjoyable. Thank you all for being here. So today we're going to talk about the mapping of Ophir and Tarshish, not by us, but by the ancients, because they've been mapping this land of gold in the Philippines all this time for thousands of years. Now, in this particular segment, we're just going to deal with Ophir and Tarshish. We're not even going to talk about the Garden of Eden and the land of Sheba, because we're going to set those aside. We're going to deal with those later. And there's a lot of maps coming, so this isn't all of them. This will just be some, just a sampling. Understand that all of these maps are sourced in our book, Garden of Eden Revealed, the Book of Maps. And we also have released Solomon's Treasure, the search for King Solomon's Treasure, free in ebook in that case, in English and in Tagalog. And all of these are available on ophirinstitute.com, worldwide. All the links are there. You can purchase the print on Amazon or Shopee Philippines, or if you want to just read the free ebook, we love you anyway. That's perfect. We just want to get this content out there. We want to see Filipinos awaken. And what we're seeing is a movement in the opposite direction by many. But that's okay, because the Holy Spirit's still the Holy Spirit. And He's going to lead the Philippines back to this restoration, no problem. Now, also, if you haven't seen it and you want more detail, we've documented our journey all along the way in Solomon's Gold series, a viral series, many views, millions of views for the whole series. We have that in Tagalog as well, so you can enjoy it in the Tagalog language as well. Now, let's just go right to a map. Let's just go right to it. Because one of the things people say is, oh, well, you know, we don't have any maps with Ophir. Okay, I want you to understand something first of all. You also don't have a New Testament with Hebrew. Ophir is a Hebrew word, right? In the first century, we had a change, right? Even the Bible changed from the Hebrew to the Greek. And see, maps do the same thing. So what we find is Ophir on many maps as Christ, which is the Greek word for gold, the Greek land of gold, documented for thousands of years. However, here is a map with Ophir. It actually has O-F-I-R, Ophir. It's one spelling of it, usually the Latinized version. This is from 1120 A.D. So this is long before Magellan. This is long before Columbus. And they well knew, even still, that Ophir was the Philippines. Now, how do we know this is the Philippines? Because we can see on the map the Malay Peninsula. In fact, you can see India, you can see the Malay Peninsula, you progress to the Sunda Isles, labeled as Solis, and then you see, what's that? Oh, the Garden of Eden in the Philippines. The big sun there, that's the Garden of Eden. And then just off of that is where you see the flag there pointing to it, Ophir, and it's part of the Philippines. It always has been. This has never been a mystery. It's never been in Africa. It's never been in Saudi Arabia. It's never been in India. It's never even been a coherent thought to try to place it there when it's always been in the Far East. It's always been Isles, which is a big one, because a lot of those places I just mentioned aren't even Isles. And that kind of, you would think scholars would go through that right away. This map is in Garden of Eden Revealed, as I think all of these in this particular segment. But let's roll through some maps here. We're going to go through several so you can really see this for yourself. In 43 AD, there's a guy named Pomponius Mela, and he is one of the most credible and one of the most famous historical characters of the first century who created maps. Now, his maps were written directions, and a cartographer comes along and actually puts it on a map later. But this mapping matches his written directions exactly. There really is no other way to look at it when you read his written directions. So you can see on this map, you see Ceres, right? Ceres is China. That's an ancient name for China. And South China specifically. Okay, and you see those mountains running through it all the way to this point called Tamus, right? Now, once you're at that, that's the southeast China Peninsula. So what's that big island? Well, wait a minute, it's not right next to it. That would be Taiwan. No, it's southeast of that China Peninsula. That's called Luzon Island, Philippines. And it's labeled on this map as Christ, which is Ophir in Hebrew, the land of gold, on a map in 43 AD. That's incredible. Now, this is one of the greatest finds we've ever seen. But here's what's really neat. Pomponius Mela tells you what he's doing here. He's not just creating a map for map's sake. He is preserving the ancient route that the Greeks took to Ophir, to Christ. And he tells you that this data, this information for this map, comes from the olden writers, the olden Greek writers. Now, we go through the Greek record, and we're not going to do it today, but I'll tell you that we do it. You can watch it. There's a whole portion of Solomon's Gold series on it. I think like 6 videos, where we go through time, and we find that in 700 BC, 600, 500, 400, 300, 200, 100, first century even, that the Greeks were documenting, number one, the river Oceanus, which runs around the whole earth. Not the ocean. It's called Oceanus, but it's a river. It's the rivers from Eden. See, it's a match in description. And then you can also find that not only did they know that, but they knew that the rivers of Eden terminate at the land of gold in the Far East. And that's what these references show. So all of these references, through all of this time, they're giving you markers all along the way so you can understand exactly what Pomponius Mela mapped for us, right? So the data is there to support his words exactly, and there's really no question what he means when he says he's quoting the olden writers, because they're pinpointing the Philippines as the ancient land of gold. Now, then we have a Greek sailor who made a journey to India. That's as far as he made it. He never came to the Philippines. But when he was in India, he asked the Indians and the Sri Lankans both, where is the land of gold? And they explained to him that their land of gold, Suvarnadwipa, is the same as his land of gold, which is Christ in Greek, which is the same as the Bible land called Ophir. This is not a mystery. Now, he provided a map because the Indians gave him directions. And these directions lead you to the last part of the inhabited world toward the east under the rising sun itself. Now, in this time, even in the time of Messiah, they well knew about the islands off the coast of Asia, about the Philippines. They well knew because we have maps that draw it. Even Aristophanes, there's some copies in 200 BC almost of copies of his map that show those islands of the Philippines, basically, southeast of China. But this does the same thing. And again, it's written language. We did map this one. He says, after this region, under the very north, now that's likely the Tropic of Cancer. So it's right under the Tropic of Cancer. The Tropic of Cancer goes right through Taiwan. All right? This is just under Taiwan, just south of Taiwan. What's just south of Taiwan? The Philippines. That's Christ. That's the land of gold. He pinpoints it right there exactly. And then he even says the sea outside ending in a land called this, China. So basically what he's saying is it's beyond mainland Asia, so it's to the east, and it's south or southeast of China. And the islands southeast of China are the Philippines every time. There's nothing else there. Now, this was corrected by Magellan, and this is what many miss. I haven't talked to an academic yet who is even aware that Magellan did this, but Magellan corrected the record. He said, in order to find Cape Catagara, now, Cape Catagara, same thing, is the land of gold. It was drilled by Ptolemy in ancient times. And what he's doing is he's correcting Ptolemy here. See, because Ptolemy drew it really far south. He drew it down by what would be the Malay Peninsula, Sumatra, and that area. And see, the British are still following that ancient record that has been corrected by Magellan. And that's a problem because they don't know history, unfortunately. So he says, with the pardon of cosmographers, for they have seen it, or they have not seen it, okay, so they didn't see it with their eyes, they didn't travel there, is not found where it is imagined to be, but to the north, in the 12 degrees or thereabouts. And he says earlier, the 13th degree, so somewhere between 12 degrees and 13 degrees north. Now, where is that on a map? Well, here you have the behind globe of 1492, which labels Luzon Island as Christ, the land of gold. In 1492, this is the map that Columbus used. Think about that. Okay, this is the map that Magellan used. These guys knew exactly what the Philippines was, the land of gold. Amen? Okay, so between the 12th and 13th degree in the Philippines is Samar Leyte. Where did Magellan land? Leyte. Same thing. He landed exactly where he was headed. There is no mystery here whatsoever. And again, he corrected the record, so he knew his geography. The only thing that Columbus did wrong is Columbus didn't understand the distance across the Pacific, right? So he hit the Americas, and he thought when he was in the Americas that he found the land of gold. He even said so. He sent a letter to the King of Spain saying so. But he didn't. He was in the Caribbean, but he's on the same parallel, right? He's on the same latitude, right? So when it comes down to it, this was well known, and here is what Ptolemy drew in about 200 BC or so, something like that, I believe. That's off the top of my head. This is a reconstruction in 1578, but still, you look at this map, and you can see this red square here. In this red square are famous lands known as the lands of gold, different names for it. Why does the land of gold have so many names? Because it's the Philippines and you have 7,000 islands. Not a mystery, right? Okay, so first you have Area Chersonesus. Now, what Ptolemy did is he renamed Ophir, right? In the Latin, it's area. Gold, same, right? So area is Ophir. And then Chersonesus means peninsula, but see, here's the problem. It's never a peninsula in any credible record ever. It is always an island. It has to be an island. The origin of Ophir is the Bible, and it's an island. We went through that last segment. Now, what are we seeing here? Well, Magellan corrected this from 9 degrees south of the equator to 12 to 13 degrees north of the equator. So what's he doing? He's moving it into the Philippines. So Area Chersonesus is Luzon Island. When you make that correction the way that Magellan said to make it. Now then, lower, there in the middle you see Visayas, all right? And there's an island named Saba de Ba. Oh wait, Saba de Ba? Okay, is it? All right, Saba is a word, it's the same word as Sheba. It's the same word as Sheba. Okay, now here's what's in Hebrew. So here's the neat thing. So it's Saba, Diba, or really Dwipa in Sanskrit, in the Indian language, is island. So it really is saying Sheba Island. So there's Sheba Island on the map. But Ptolemy got it wrong, and Magellan corrected it. Magellan corrected it into Visayas. And we know that for certain because Sabadiba is there. To the right of it is Yabadi, right? Yabadi, by the way, is also another name for the land of gold and also in Visayas, Philippines. And then next to that, you have Catagara, all on the same line and all in Visayas. Catagara, that's the name that Magellan was using as his destination. That's where he was going, which is what? Samar Leyte. How about that? And there you are in that map. So this is all corrected by Magellan, and this is what academia just plain has lost, unfortunately. It's sad, but it's true. And you know what? Let's just correct it. It's not about condemnation. And we have many academics and even Bible scholars and pastors. We've even had rabbis contact us who've watched the channel. So we know that they do, at least in part, and at least some. In 124 AD, we see the same record. This record is constant. It just continues on all the way through. And we're going to cover the TO map in another video as well. But this is fascinating because this is Dionysius the tourist. He's also a Greek in origin, but he's writing from Africa. And so he mapped, and this map that he creates, he basically defines Christ Island. You can see it there in the inset, in the big red box. There's Christ Island. Okay, but to the northwest of that is Ceres, that's China. And those mountains are the same mountains that go to the point in the South China Peninsula. Same thing. It's the same one, all of these maps, really. And once you understand it, it's easy to find. What's he identifying? What's that big island southeast of China in the South China Sea? It's called the Philippines. It's nothing else. That's Luzon Island. So we see this time and time again. And in 416, we see a map that actually shows Christ as a river. Now, it's not a river. We know it's not a river. Why do they call it a river? Because it's surrounded by the Pison River, right, from Eden. And we're going to cover that too. But for the sake of this, let's go to the next map, 650 AD. So this is still really early, 650 AD. And here we have a map that very distinctly draws China as Syrica, and then southeast of China is a giant island labeled Paradise. Oh wait, that's the Garden of Eden. Where are we? Southeast of China? You're in the South China Sea. You're in the Philippines. You're in Luzon Island, Philippines. Now, just south of that is Argyre, which is the name for Tarshish in Greek. It means silver. Tarshish is the land of silver. It's the same thing. And then you see Christ next to it, the land of gold. Now, this is 650 AD. You see this record continues all the way through. And this is the amazing thing. It doesn't skip. It just continues. The world knew this, and they knew this without a doubt. Here's a map from 800 AD. And this map is profound. It's a new mapping process, and you can see the east is at the top. Okay? Now, what are they drawing there? What's that little stamp thing that's surrounded by the enclosure with the naked man and woman picking an apple from a tree with a snake? That's the Garden of Eden. That's the Garden of Eden on a map in 800 AD. Wow, here it is. Okay, so now to the right, there's an inset, and it's been colorized and modernized so it's easier to read. And you can see the Garden of Eden, basically south of China, okay, but it's really southeast, but that's okay. It's right there on the coast. It's the Philippines. And then just south of that is Argyre, the land of silver, Tarshish in Hebrew, and Christ, the land of gold, which is Ophir in Hebrew, on a map in 800 AD. Not even remotely questionable. We know exactly what this area is. In fact, if you look at the original map, you can see there's like a page crease because this is actually 2 pages of a book. That's the way they did maps back then. Okay, so that page crease literally is the Tropic of Cancer. The Tropic of Cancer goes through China and goes through Taiwan. So the Garden of Eden is south of it, and so is Christ and Argyre. Where is it? We're in the Philippines. That's where we are. Now, then we have another map in 970 AD. And here we have the garden drawn once again. It's the same kind of perspective. And then just south of it, you have Christ and Argyre, the land of gold and silver. In 975, you have the same rendering, basically. And again, you have Christ and Argyre and the Garden of Eden right there south of China in the South China Sea. In 1047 AD, you have the same thing. You have the Garden of Eden. You have Christ and Argyre right there on the map, just in the South China Sea, southeast of China, northeast of the Malay Peninsula, east of Indochina. There's really no question what this is, folks. This is the Philippines on a map all of these many years. This was not a question. This was not debatable. 1086, the Asma Betis map. Same thing. You see a cleaner rendering here to the right, an inset. And you can see the Garden of Eden is there, and there's Argyre and Christ right next to it, all in the South China Sea. That's called the Philippines. Then we have this incredible map. Okay, this is the famous Muslim cartographer. His name is Al-Idrisi, and he draws several names for the land of gold. Oh, all of them are in the Philippines. Every single one. Now, here's what he's showing here. He shows 3 islands named Wak Wak. Now, what in the world is Wak Wak? I mean, where would that name even come from? Well, wait a minute, you know, because you're Filipinos. Wak Wak is the vampire, right? Well, that legend comes with this whole story from the Muslim community. And so in history, the Wak Wak vampire was associated with these islands, and they were named in Tagalog. They were named in Tagalog. So there's no question what they are. But we know that they are north of Borneo. What's the big island north of Borneo? Mindanao. Always has been, always will be, not even questionable. There's 3 islands here labeled Wak Wak in Mindanao and Visayas. That is the land of gold for the Muslims. Now also here, he labels an island Zangi or Zipangu or Zipangu. That's the land of gold of Marco Polo. Marco Polo was defining the Philippines, not Japan. Ever. He is very clear it's not Japan. He defines resources that don't exist in Japan, but they do natively in the Philippines. He gives geography southeast of China. Well, Japan's not southeast of China. That's a big problem. So there's a lot of things there. Okay, so then there's another one, and there's an island in the middle here. It's actually labeled Zahab. Zahab is the Hebrew word for gold. There's an Isle of Gold in Hebrew or Aramaic labeled right there on this map, right in the middle of Visayas. Then at the top, he has Lamang. Lamang is the Philippines. It's Luzon in this case. And then there is another island labeled Sabara, which is Sabah Island, basically, again, which is Sheba Island. It's Sheba. So all of these lands of gold exist on this map in 1100. This is before Magellan. This is before Columbus. Long before. They knew these things. This is not a mystery. 1175, the Manchester map shows the Garden of Eden, and there's Christ and Argyre right next to it in the South China Sea. Then we have 1220, another map, Garden of Eden, and there's Christ right next to it in the South China Sea. And then there's Paradise on this map, the Frau Mara map, and you find there's Borneo in this map, and right next to Borneo, it's actually north, this is in a circular perspective, but that's north of Borneo. That next island north of Borneo, last I checked on a map, is Mindanao. Okay? And it's labeled Zipangu. That's the name of Marco Polo's land of gold. On a map in 1458, it was not a mystery. In 1474, and this is an amazing map created by Tuscanelli. This is one of the maps that Columbus said he used in his journal. Okay, and on this map, what do we have? We have Zipangu in the Philippines, right next to Luzon Island. Luzon Island is labeled Chrysis, or Christ, the Greek name for the land of gold. It's Ophir in Hebrew. Never a mystery at all. This has always been known. And then we have the 1492 Behind globe, which we've talked about before. But here on this map, when you zoom in, you can see, even by shape, notice to the left we have Luzon Island, and then you go over and you look at Crisis, right? The Golden Island, notice it's golden, but the Golden Island, Crisis, it's even got the shape of Luzon Island, especially at the top. It's got the little curly Q on the right-hand side. How do you mistake that? You don't, because it's in the same position. It's southeast of China, it's east of Indochina, and it's northeast of Borneo. We know exactly what this is. This is Luzon Island. South of that, now it's below the equator on this map. That's not accurate. It's a little further north, but still, it's close. It's northeast of Borneo. And you have an island at the bottom there labeled Argyre. And Argyre, oh wait, it's the same shape as Mindanao. Because Mindanao is the land of silver. It is Tarshish, the biblical Tarshish. And that's on a map in 1492. This is the map used by Columbus and Magellan to plot their voyages and on their voyages according to their own journals. And we may get there in the series too, let's hope. And this was known. This was known all along. In 1261 or so, Marco Polo took his famous journey and he learned about the famous Isle of Gold, Zipangu. Now, that's a Chinese name. Zipangu is actually, Pangu is the creator god in Chinese. It's a reference to the land of creation. The creator god in Chinese, in Taoism, actually became the land. Think about that. So he is geography. So if you locate him on a map, you've located geography. It's the same thing. And here we are. Here's a map that was actually published in a very famous atlas in 1744. And it shows, if you look at the inset here, what is that? That's Luzon Island, the yellow island there. It says Manila, so we know it's Luzon, right? And it's the shape of Luzon. And it says Zipangri, or Zipangu, same thing. There you go. That's Marco Polo's Zipangu, the land of gold in the Philippines, never in Japan. Never. Japan was named for that. Japan's name is not Japan. It's Nippon or Nihon. It's not Japan. The locals don't even call it Japan. That is a Western name, and it's a Western perspective. So what they were doing is they're trying to change history. They're trying to name things, so that it will stick. And it was, even we were deceived by that, okay? Because we used to even say, early in videos, we used to say, oh, Zipangu, that's Japan. No, it's not. No, it's not. It does not test as Japan. In fact, I'll tell you this, as I want to cover this in this segment just really quickly. Pigafetta's Journal talks about the king of Butuan. We talked about pieces of gold of the size of walnuts and eggs, chicken eggs, are found by sifting the earth in the island of that king who came to our ships. That's Butuan, that's Mindanao. Okay? All the dishes of that king are of gold. Wow. Do you have dishes of gold? No, not today, right? Get this, but also because there's a golden palace in the story of Marco Polo, but there's no golden palace in Marco Polo's time in Japan. Doesn't work. There was in the Philippines. And here it is right here. And also some portion of his house. What do you call the house of a king? A palace. A golden palace. Boom. Documented historical fact in Pigafetta's Journal, which is about as credible as you get. Japan also is not southeast of China. It doesn't have the gold palace. Also, Marco Polo said that the Chinese talked about, regarding Zipangu, that there were cannibals there. Now, Japan has no cannibal legends that we can find. The Philippines is riddled with cannibal legends. Now, it doesn't matter which are true or not. Some of them are cannibal legends propagated by the Chinese. And that's the whole point here. This is a Chinese legend. Boom. So, and then the other thing is rhinos. And Japan doesn't have rhinos. But the Philippines has rhinos natively. In fact, you have a rhino we talked about in one of the other segments, 700,000 years old. You have rhinos. You also trade in rhinos because they're all over Southeast Asia. So either way. Now, here's the funny thing. Most people don't know this. I haven't, again, talked to an academic that has ever researched this to this degree. And this is why you'll see even PhDs. They just don't know this because they haven't researched it. It's not that they're not smart enough. Of course they are. They could find this. We have found nothing, in fact, that's new. This is the ancient record. This is the ancient history. And here is what Columbus said about Marco Polo. He said, encouraged by the interest with which the sovereigns listened to his account of his recent voyage along the coast of Cuba, he's talking about Columbus, bordering, as he supposed, on the rich territories of the Grand Khan. Wait a minute, he's in the Caribbean, but he thinks he's in the Philippines. So he's saying that the Philippines is Zipangu. That's what he's saying. And here's what he says. And of his discovery of the mines of Haina, which he failed not to represent, get this, which, he's talking about the Grand Khan, he's talking about Marco Polo, he's rebuking them here, which he failed not to represent as the Ophir of the ancients. See, the Ophir of King Solomon, according to Columbus, is the same as Marco Polo's Zipangu. Same place. And this has been well documented throughout. It's also documented on Chinese maps. This is not even a remote mystery. Here's a Chinese map that writes in Chinese the word Zipangu on Luzon Island. Wow. Here's another Chinese map that shows Luzon Island as Zipangu in Chinese. This is not a mystery. And then this is the 1744 map that we just covered, and Zipangu is Luzon. And here's a Korean map even from 1856 that shows Luzon in Chinese characters as Zipangu, not Japan. See, this has never been a mystery, folks. For the Philippines is Ophir and Tarshish. Diba? Yeah. Yes. Now, for anybody looking for the sources of all of these maps and the sources of any of our materials, we well source our stuff. It's all in our books. The Search for King Solomon's Treasure, free in ebook. You can purchase it in print, but it's free in ebook. Also in Tagalog, free in ebook. And then we have the Garden of Eden Revealed, the Book of Maps. We do not publish that in ebook because these are high resolution color maps. We're not going to put them in low resolution. So then they'll come back and they'll say, oh, I can't read the map. Well, of course you can. It's in low resolution. So the book is high resolution. The maps are there. We've started a YouTube series on that as well, where we'll show them really, really large and blow them up there, and that's free as well. Don't forget to watch Solomon's Gold series if you haven't, in English or Tagalog. And this really is our journey documenting it over the last really 10 or so years of research, but 8 years of publishing. And wow, this has been quite the journey indeed. Thank you all for coming today and joining us in the studio. And remember, always remember, prove all things for yourself. Yah bless to everyone. Thank you.
And now, it's your turn. Many have asked for a small group study that they can lead themselves in their homes and churches, announcing the Lost Isles of Gold Small Group Study Guide, a 13-week reference that allows you to lead a group of any size. Simply invite friends and family into your home, play this video series once a week, and you can avail of the study guide of each week's questions, free in ebook, or purchase one copy on Amazon or Shopee Philippines, and we release the copyright for you to even photocopy as long as it is made free to attendees. Or contact us for bulk copies in large quantities. Yes, you can even apply the study on Zoom, and similar platforms, and even download and play where there is no internet. For pastors, you can execute this in your small groups with this video teaching, or if you wish to teach this information yourself from the pulpit or in a class, contact us for direction, bulk copies, and we will even provide our presentation slides to assist you in doing so as part of the package for any size church, including mega. You can also raise funds by selling our books. The option is also available for many to host the God Culture in a launch in Restore Philippines conference to kick this off. This will ignite your group and equip them to disciple using this monumental revelation. Just email us at thegodculture@gmail.com and go to ophirinstitute.com for instructions and all the links, including the free ebook. It's time for this revelation to go viral throughout the Philippines and the world. This spark is about to explode. Be sure to tell us about your experience. Yah bless.
I saw 3 ships come sailing in.
Did the ships coming sailing in bring gold, frankincense, and myrrh to our Savior? Indeed, they were not on camels, and they offered their gifts by the shipload. Deep in the Vatican archives, a treasure was recently discovered. A document purporting to be written by the Magi themselves has surfaced. These were holy, sagacious kings, yes, kings, who originated in the Far East beyond India from the land of the Garden of Eden, as David prophesied from Tarshish, Ophir, and Sheba. That was never Persia, Arabia, nor India. Wait till you find out the Apostle Thomas made it to these famed isles. Knowledge is increasing, unraveling the mystery of the 3 kings, the lost ancient nativity restored. Get your copy today, free in ebook, or print worldwide on Amazon or Shopee Philippines. Go to ophirinstitute.com. Find the Garden of Eden and Land of Gold on your coffee mug? Oh yeah. Introducing Map Mugs by The God Culture, a collection of 12 containers featuring some of the most important maps ever created. You know, we did not want to slap our logo on merch and sell it. So, we figured out a way to give our viewers what they've been asking for: gear that can be used for teaching. When you have friends over, watch them discover the garden and compare their different maps. This should spur a discussion often in which you can share what you have learned. Available in regular 11-ounce white, or get our color morphing mug, Just pour hot water and watch the garden and aisles of gold appear. Dude! Collect all 12 and make this a ministry with coffee or tea. Just visit thegodculture.com and order yours today. In the beginning, a garden was planted, enclosed within the earth, in the east, the Orient, far east, says Enoch before the flood, and Noah who lived there and mapped it in the Philippines. The Bible has always led there, and even Bible historians knew how to read the Hebrew, such as Josephus in 90 AD, Lactantius and African in 310. And in 550, Cosmos, the Greek monk and merchant traveler who went to the Indies, wrote in Alexandria, Egypt, Africa, Christian topography, and he mapped paradise as the Philippines. That map was even published in the Greek edition of the Bible at one time. A 6,000-year track record, forgotten today by illiterate scholars. They have no education on this topic. Let us explore this massive trove of ancient maps. Israel is not east, and a spring is a spring, not a river, and must be fed by a mega river as its source, and must connect to 3 other heads as well, all rivers, and actually salt water even. Can they read? Africa is not east, nor in Shem's far east, where the garden has always resided. Mesopotamia is the occult creation myth of the Nephilim. Nice, scholars. Modern rivers from rain did not even exist before the flood, and the Bible never uses the word Tigris ever in the original Hebrew. Why do modern scholars have no clue when the evidence is so vast? The Garden of Eden revealed, resolving the 6,000-year testimony, marking the Far East. Now available in print only, no ebook, on Amazon and Shopee Philippines. Over 75 high-resolution color historic maps with accurate interpretation no one can truly dispute. Get your book now, and a new series begins.